boys and girls. So I was just looking over your multiplication and division wrap up, and I wanted to go over the last three problems. I think everyone did a great job on the first problem. The only reason why some of you were marked wrong was because some of you didn't label your answer correctly, but I did go and change it, and I marked you as correct and gave you the point if you had 56 as your answer. So it should have been 56 teams. Some of you put 56 students or 56 people, so you were marked wrong, but it's okay. I went in and I changed your score. So I wanted to go over the last three problems. So the first problem, I'm going to have my helper, Matthew, hand me the Post-it. Okay.
Okay, hi.
That one.
I'm gonna have my.
Thank you.
Hi. Hey, look at what I'm doing.
Okay.
Hey, look at. Look at Mama.
So at the Camp Jewel reunion, 283 former campers gathered for a picnic. How many picnic tables will be needed if each table seats 7 people? Okay, so the first thing we have to do is decide whether this is multiplication or division. So I know that this is going to be division because I have the total amount of people. I know there are 283 people, and I know that 7 people can sit together at a table. So what I need to figure out is how many picnic tables will be needed. So I'm going to use the partial quotients for division to help me get my answer. So I have 7 people. I don't like that color. It's hard to see. 7 people at a table. And then there's 283 people in all. So in the partial quotients, the first thing I do is I pick a factor or a number that I can multiply times 7 that will get me as close to 283 as possible. So usually we start with 10, but in this case, I want to ask myself if I can maybe go a little higher because 10 times 7 is 70, and I know if I double that, I would get 140, which is still not more than 283. So why don't I start with that? If I start with 20, I know that 2 times 7 is 14, and I add the 0, which is 140. Step 2 is to subtract. 3 times 0 is 3. 8 minus 4 is 4. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. So now I have 143. So I could do 10 because I know 10 times 7 is 70. Or I could see if I could double it because I know that 20 times 7 is 140, which is still not more than 143, but really close. So I'll do 20 again. 20 times 7 is 140. And then I subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3. So now I know I have a remainder of 3, which means that there's going to be 3 extra people that are not at a table. So I'm going to keep that in my mind as I'm thinking about my answer to the question, which is how many picnic tables will be needed. So 20 plus 20 is 40. Remainder 3. So my answer should be 41 tables. A lot of you in your answer wrote 40. However, we have to remember that there's 3 extra people that wouldn't get to sit at a table if we only had 40 tables. So we would need that extra table, which would not be full. It would have 3 people at the table. So my answer, 41 tables. Okay, so I'm actually going to have my helper again. Matthew, could you erase the board with the eraser and then give me the next Post-it? Yes, go ahead and erase the whole thing. So while he erases that, I'm going to read you the next problem that was in our multiplication and division wrap-up yesterday. So the town of New Milford has 5 schools. Each school's library has 706 picture books. How many picture books are there in all their school libraries? Okay, so we have to ask ourselves first, is this multiplication or is this division? So I know that there's 5 schools, and I know that each library has 706 books. Thank you, Matthew. Okay, just wait, and then you'll give me the last one. How many picture books are there in all their schools' libraries? So I know I need to multiply because I have to find out how many there are in all. So each school has 706 picture books, but there are 5 schools, which means I'm going to multiply. 5 times 706 equals blank books. So I'm going to use the area model. I'm going to draw my rectangle. I'll put 5 on the side. And then across the top, I'm going to break apart 706. So I have 700. I have 0 in the tens place. I'm just going to put it there. And then I have 6. Okay? So now I'm going to write my equations. 5 times 700 equals blank. 5 times 0, which we know is 0. We probably didn't even need to put this box, but I like to do it just because it's the strategy.
I know that.
And then,
you said that one.
And then 5 times 6. Okay, so now I'm going to find my products, which is an answer to a multiplication problem. 5 times 7 is 35. And then I add the 2 zeros. 5 times 0 is 0, which is why we really didn't need to put that in the middle. And then 5 times 6 is 30. Then I add my products. 30. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. And then 5 and 3, which gives me an answer of 3,530 books. Okay, so I'm going to have my helper now erase the board, and then I will read you our last problem from our multiplication and division wrap-up yesterday. So in this problem, we just have to solve, hi Maddox, okay, thank you. We just have to solve 64 times 73 using the area model. Thank you, Matthew. Maddox, you can put this up. Okay, right here. Thank you, bud. Okay, so I'm going to solve using the area model, 64 times 73. So this is a little bit tricky. I want to use a marker I know you can see. I'll go back to blue. This is tricky because we have 4 digits, which means we're going to have 4 smaller arrays in our bigger array. So I can go ahead and do that. Okay, and then I'll write 64 on one side and then 73 on the other. I'll move that up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to break apart my numbers.
Hi.
Okay, Matthew, thank you. You guys have helped. You have to go now, okay? Okay. So 64, we can break that apart into 60 and 4. And then 73 is 70 and 3. And I'll write my equations. 60 times 70 equals blank. 60 times 3 equals blank. And then we have 4 times 70, or 70 times 4. Okay, and then 3 times 4. Okay, now I'm going to multiply. 6 times 7 is 42. And then I add 2 zeros. 6 times 3 is 18, and I add the 0. 7 times 4 is 28, and I add the 0. And then 3 times 4 is 12. So boys and girls, I want to stop just for 1 second. So we know we're going to add all these products now. I want you guys to please, 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 if knowing your facts is something you struggle with. If you understand the area model, but you get stuck because you're not sure what 6 times 7 is, or you don't know what 6 times 3 is, and so on and so forth, this summer, study your facts. You can make flashcards. You could also practice on IXL, but I can promise you that math in 5th grade is going to be so much easier for you if you know your facts quickly. Okay, so now I'm going to add, I'll just move this because I know you guys can't see underneath, so I'm going to add my products on the top. So I have 4,200 plus 280 plus 180 plus 12. Okay, so I add my ones. 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2. 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 1 more is 17. I'm going to write the 7, carry the 1. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. And then we just have 4. And then I'll write my answer nice and big over here. 4,672 is your answer.